Hello Synapse CI/CD fans, welcome to this video series on Synapse CI/CD. My name is Rui Cunha and I'm a support escalation engineer on the Azure Synapse Analytics team. Today I have some great news to share. You can now improve your CI/CD lifecycle for your SQL component, as we are adding support to Serverless SQL Pool in SqlPackage. Yes, you heard perfectly well. We are now allowing you to use the SqlPackage in Azure DevOps release pipeline, for example, to deploy your serverless SQL Pool objects across multiple environments. In this video, we will be showing a simple scenario where you can use Azure DevOps and the release pipeline to deploy your serverless objects to a target environment. Until recently, CI/CD implementation for Synapse SQL Pools could be achieved only for the dedicated SQL component. There was no support for serverless SQL Pools using SSDT. With the latest SqlPackage release that is now having support for serverless SQL Pools, you can now use the extract and publish operations to deploy your serverless SQL Pool objects to a different environment. And this demonstration, I will show you a simple use case where you can use SqlPackage to extract your serverless SQL Pool objects from your source environment and deploy to a different environment. From DevOps, what I'm going to do now is to set up a new release pipeline. I will start with an empty job and I will name this stage as SQL On Demand Deployment. I will also rename this pipeline SQL OD Deployment. I will start by adding a new task to this release pipeline, and I will search for the data warehouse deployment task. You can configure this task to run the SqlPackage using any of these actions, but for serverless we are now scoped to the extract and publish actions. So now what I'm going to do here is to name this as task as extract DACPack. I will provide my service connection that is already configured. In case you haven't configured this yet, you will have the available Azure subscriptions options. You will select this subscription and then you just need to authorize to start configuring the Azure service connection. This will create a new service principal that will be added. It will be granted the contributor role to this service principal on all resources that you have in your subscription. Now I have this already in place. I will provide all the information that is required for my authentication in my source SQL pool. So I'm configuring the task that will extract my DACPack from my development serverless pool. So what I need to do here is from my dev workspace, I will copy the serverless SQL endpoint, my Azure SQL Server, and here in the data warehouse name, that will be the SQL pool name. So I will name this as SQL OD CI/CD, and I need to provide the login and password. The login and password, I will use these variables here. So I will create my username, it will be my SQL admin, and then my password, new variable, and I will put here my password. Change this variable type from plain text to secret. Now back to the task configuration. The way I refer to that variable is by using the $sign and enclose the variable name in parentheses. So this will be my username and my pass. I will select the SQL DACPack file as my deploy type, and the action will be my extract. In case I wanted to provide any additional arguments to the SqlPackage, I could do it here. And you can get all these arguments or properties from our public documentation. In the SqlPackage documentation, you will have all the properties and arguments listed for every action supported by SqlPackage. I will need to create and add the publish task. One easy way to do it is just to clone the task. I will rename. And what I need to do now is to change my Azure SQL server. That will be my UAT and my data warehouse name. In case this SQL pool name does not exist, it will be automatically created. To keep this demonstration simple, assume that I'm using the same login and pass as for dev, okay? Just for demonstration purposes. And in the action, I will not choose the extract, but the publish. Look at this detail. We are required to provide here the DACPack file. So where can we find this DACPack file? So if you go back to your extract task, you have an option here to create an output or to set up an output variable. And by providing a reference name, I will provide here DACPack. I will be able to reference this variable in the next task to access this value here that will be the file path. The way that I can refer to this is by copying this output variable name, and the same way I refer to these variables here, enclose this in parentheses and provide my output file name. Okay. So this path will represent the file path to my DACPack that was generated by the previous task. Now what I need to do is to save this release. My two instances, the dev and the UAT, and show you here the existing objects in my dev SQL pool with just a few external tables that will be deployed from dev to the UAT environment. So here is my dev with my SQL OD CI/CD database, and I will have here a couple of tables. This is just for demos. Here is the dimension city and the dimension customer table that I want to deploy to my UAT. I will expand now the UAT database. I will collapse this one now. Database pool SQL OD CI/CD does not exist here, so we don't have any SQL pool deployed yet. Back to our release pipeline. It's now time to create the release and track the progress of this deployment from the logs. So it's now running the extract DACPack task, running the SqlPackage. It will run the SqlPackage command line utility. You can see the version of the DAC framework here, the 160 and the SqlPackage. So now it succeeded. The DACPack is now created, and we should have here the output variable pointing to this location where we have the DACPack file, and now it will start to publish the DACPack to the UAT environment. Now that the publish, and I just realized that instead of publish DACPack is extract publish, but you know what I mean, so ignore this. And back to the management studio, and if I now refresh my Object Explorer, let's see now under the databases, I'm expecting to have the SQL OD CI/CD, and my two external tables should now be here. Here they are. Okay. So with this simple example, I showed you how you can easily deploy your serverless SQL pool objects across multiple environments. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I will catch you up on the next one. But before, Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, as we'll be delivering more videos soon.